Hello world, this is Just Being Intentional with Thomas Harris. My name is Thomas Harris. I'm your host. Thank you for being with us today, and we just greatly appreciate you taking the time out to be with us and listen in. First things first, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, whatever you got to do. Just do that for us. It'll help us greatly, and we appreciate your joining in with us. My guest for today's show is former lead singer of Sanctus Real. He is a songwriter, a husband, a dad, and also a friend of mine. So his name is Matt Hammitt. Matt, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, man. It's good to finally be here. We've been talking about this forever.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes with tying people's schedules down. It's hard to lock them all in at the same time. But I greatly appreciate you coming in on this with us, brother.
I see your son more than I see you. Our little guys. Such good friends. We love seeing True around.
Yeah, it's a blessing, to have your kid come to a new state and just fit right in and start making pals. And I think some of these guys that he's met are going to be lifetime buddies. So
I think so.
We appreciate your friendship.
Oh, likewise.
Yes, let's get things started. First things first, tell us about the origin story of Matt Hammitt.
Yeah, so I grew up near downtown Toledo, Ohio. And, if nobody's ever been to Toledo, it's fairly similar to Detroit. It's like a mini Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
It's a real industrial town.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the industry has gone away. It's struggled to, feel revitalized at times. And
Mm-hmm.
there have been some efforts in the recent years that I've been really proud of the city for doing some really cool things with parts of the downtown and revitalizing some areas and bringing some life back. And so that's been really cool to watch. But man, being a kid, growing up there, it was just a lot of, middle class, lower middle class families, kids riding our bikes around as we do, no iPads or iPhones yet, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
It's so crazy. And
what a world we live in.
Yeah, man, but I didn't know any different. It was beautiful. I had wonderful parents who cared about the good things in life.
Yeah.
They loved Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
They kept us in church. My mom was the secretary at a Christian school, Toledo Christian School. And for 1st through 12th, I went there on scholarship, and she, the only thing about that was hard was I had to ride with her early every day
Mm-hmm.
and then stay an hour after school every day
Mm-hmm.
to ride home. So I was at that school.
Fun.
So many extra hours of my life for 12 years, but I didn't mind. I would go to the chapel and I would actually find a piano or find a place that I could sit and be creative. And it actually, I think, was a good thing because I had time to just kind of, sit with my creative thoughts and that whole journey of growing up in church and in Christian school, and then being around environments where I could be creative and was encouraged to be creative, kind of realizing that was my path, led to me actually meeting the guys in Sanctus Real when I was 16 years old at my school. I met Chris. Our drummer didn't go there, but he had a lot of friends who went there. And so me and a couple guys started that band at 16 years old. And that was really cool because it was like the coming together of, my faith journey and also my creative journey in that moment in time where I was just discovering kind of who God was making me to be. And so, I spent most of my high school career just on the weekends rehearsing and playing local shows with the band. And that became my life.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of other extracurricular things that I probably missed out on that, I look back and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have been more involved in some of those things. But I was out there making music with my friends and never knew that would be something that would last for 20 years for me. So
all those original band members are from Toledo?
Yeah. So the guys in Sanctus Real, except for their new singer, all live in Toledo still. So, I mean, yeah. And my parents, my wife, Sarah, her parents are there. Our grandparents are there, our brothers and sisters. So, I mean, everybody, extended family for the most part, that we're close to is there.
Quick, funny sidebar about Toledo. My wife and I, we're fans of the show on Patrol Live. When they cut to Toledo Police Department, the common theme is shots fired or burglary in progress. I assume you lived on the other side of the tracks of Toledo.
Man, I saw some things go down in my neighborhood, dude. I remember watching the police surround a house across the street from us doing some sort of bust, and a huge fight broke out. This dude was like pounding on a police officer, man. I don't know how they ended up subduing him, but there was, my neighborhood at the time, it was safe, but I mean, there was still stuff going on, and, but yeah, it was, my parents it was safe enough to, like I said, ride our bikes around until the wee hours of the evening. I felt it got a little sketch in certain areas. I knew where not to go.
Right. But, times back then are probably not the same right now. It's like, I spent a couple of years in Memphis when I was a kid back in the 80s.
That's rough.
So Memphis is really bad right now. So, I know a lot of people nowadays from Memphis and they say it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So who was the influencer to getting you involved on the music scene?
Yeah. So there were exterior influences, bands that I always loved that sparked that in me. And then I would say there's also some, personal influences in my life. Kind of external influences would be growing up. My aunt always used to listen to pop radio. My parents would listen to vinyl, like old school Beatles, Jim Croce, singer, a lot of like cool singer songwriter. I used to love the Monkees, like, old stuff. And then I also loved Christian music. So I kind of this interesting array of, classic music on vinyl that my parents had. We had tons of Christian albums. And then my aunt listened to like what was happening on pop radio. And she used to babysit me. So that was the first time I remember like hearing Michael Jackson on the radio or Phil Collins. And I remember the first artist that like fascinated me musically actually was Phil Collins. Back when he put out like his Face Value stuff, In the Air Tonight. And I remember being like, what is this? It's the dude who's got soul, but he's still pop. And it's like organic, but he's got electronic elements. It was like just whatever he was mixing up hit me so hard. And I've been a big fan of his for a long time, just the diversity of what he can do.
Right.
I was a big Sting and the Police fan, and then moved into like a lot of rock music. And that's where in the Christian market, there was a label called Tooth and Nail Records that put out a ton of like MXPX and bands that were punk rock or metal or whatever. I liked all that stuff because I was like, felt like it was exploring, genres that I was interested in, but there's also faith element there. And I think it was during those years that kind of Switchfoot came on the scene a few years before we started our band. And watching bands like that mixed with like DC Talk and Christian music or Audio Adrenaline, there was like still this wide variety but it was mostly I kept getting drawn back to like rock and roll, and so I think it was cool to have the mainstream influence there of the music on both sides and also the Christian message. And I think for us, the big influence of the Christian bands was seeing how they were building the church with the music and providing something for kids in the church who wanted a positive message, a message about God, and I thought, man, I would love to do that. And I think, and so that, we like I said, a lot of musical influences in that way. And then, in my own life, man, my parents were so supportive. They came to every single show we did. Musically, I don't know if there was one person that kind of inspired me musically. I was self-taught. We taught ourselves. We just picked up our guitars and our instruments and just jammed together in my buddy's basement. His parents were an inspiration because they let us do that. They gave us the space to make noise. Yeah. Probably drove them crazy, but they like let us do it.
That's my daughter. She's self-taught. She taught herself how to play the guitar. Today's her birthday. Happy birthday, Squish.
Awesome. Yeah,
Eliza.
She's awesome, man. She's a good songwriter too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. she actually wrote her and her friend wrote a song about our community group.
They did.
And it was a pretty long song. So we were all thoroughly impressed. And they didn't leave one person out of the song. And it was really long, but I'm super impressed with her.
It was funny too. I think we laughed and we cried, It was good, man.
Of course. So let's segue into the Sanctus Real thing. Yeah. Where did the name Sanctus Real come from?
Yeah, so that's the question probably I've been asked more than any other question about the band because we chose that name. So,
I'd never heard the answer.
Our fault, so No, I'm saying but I'm like, it's funny. I actually love it when people ask. It's kind of a funny story. There are still people that I know who are my friends who are Catholic who won't say Sanctus. They'll still say Sanctus. They refuse to say it because technically Sanctus is Latin for holy or hymn of praise. And we say Sanctus.
Okay.
So we always have said Sanctus Real. It's a band name, right? But I thought also that was funny because the reason that happened was our drummer, when he was like 17 or 18, we were 16, came into our rehearsal and he said, "Hey man, I found this word in the dictionary." Because we were looking for a band name.
Right.
It's Sanctus. And it means holy or hymn of praise, set apart. And we were like, yeah, man, that's awesome. Like, we love the meaning of that.
Yeah.
None of us knew Latin.
Right.
So we were like, okay, cool, Sanctus. We know sanctuary, we know sanctified, right? We know all those words. So we assumed that that's how you said it.
Sure.
And then another guy in the band at the time who was in for a very short period of time just said, let's put real on it because, want to be real or whatever. So Sanctus Real. Sanctus Real, there it was. So it's really funny about that as we ended up with a name with an English word that could be Latin. A Latin word that we pronounce like it's English, and a English word that could be Latin. So like people always go Sanctus Real, they always think that.
Right.
And so we like to make things really difficult for people.
Tell us a little bit about some of the shows you've done, the studio time, those experiences, and give us a couple of your best experiences while you were doing music with Sanctus Real. Yeah,
man, probably some of my favorite experiences. I mean, we've worked with some amazing producers. There's a producer named Chris Stevens, who was kind of a pretty new producer in the Christian music space when we started working with him, but has really blossomed into such a amazing and well-respected producer in the music community. And, he just always had a way of, I think working with him pushed us so far out of our box in terms of our idea of excellence. This whole podcast is about being intentional. And I think the intentionality that he brought to every single part and every piece and every vocal performance, he pushed us. And I think, and there are several producers who pushed us, but I think he was one of the first that did it in a way that he just wouldn't settle for anything less than what he knew we could be. And he was going to push us as far as he could push us to get there.
Okay.
And I think there was those experiences of working with him and producers like that have molded us into being able to continue to do music and continue to pursue it and continue to try to get better and push to always be improving in our songwriting and the albums that we're doing. And, we've all carried that with us. In terms of live, same thing, all those years of touring, it was kind of the just learning on the road from watching other bands. And you always want to move up, right? And you're always trying to outperform everybody in a healthy competition kind of way. Right. Hey man, they're doing that. They're doing this production. They're doing this show like this. They're doing these moments that really has the crowd. We got to get more moments like that, and always get an opportunity because of that to play bigger and bigger shows, which ultimately led to us doing some really fun things. One of the most exhilarating tours for us that we ever played was the Winter Jam tour. It was we played all the NBA arenas. And just to be able to be in an arena with, 10 to 15,000 people, and they're all singing your song back to you. I mean, that's a crazy feeling.
Yeah.
There were a lot of moments like that were very surreal for me. But I was like, man, this is pretty wild to have this opportunity, and there are certainly plenty of people who've done it at a way bigger level than we ever did. But I also know it's a very small handful who get the opportunity to do that. And I try not to take that for granted when I think about those years. There's one funny story I'll tell you that when you talk about stories about performing, I was in Australia. It was the first time we went over there. We went to a place called Toowoomba, and they do this thing called Easter Fest. Well, they did, not anymore, sadly, but for years they did Easter Fest. Christian bands from all over the world would come. And we co-headlined that festival. I think that year was Relient K, us and Relient K. And the thing that blew me away was that when I got on the stage, all these people knew our music, and they were so excited for us to be there. And so I just have such a good time. I jumped off the stage and I got into the crowd, and I'm like walking around, just high-fiving people, hugging people, like having the time of my life, singing, sharing the mic, the whole thing.
Right.
And I turn around toward the end of the song and I realized like how high the scaffolding was to get back up onto the stage. And I looked at the crowd on both sides of where I was at, realizing there was no way I was going to get through the crowd to go around to the back of the stage. So I was going to have to go back up the way I came and try to climb back up on stage. So I climb back up on stage. I put my guitar on. I'm out of breath. I'm about to go into the next song, and the crowd starts chanting. And all I knew was they were chanting 3 words. And their fists started going up in the air, and it started swelling from like the first maybe few hundred people to like all 10,000 people were chanting, as far as I could tell. Fists in the air, 3 words, it's like that wet sound of the chant, and I couldn't understand what they're saying. I'm about to start, and the security guard waves me down from the bottom of the stage. Looks up at me, and I'm looking down at him, and he says, "Mate, you know what they're saying?" I can't do an Australian accent, but he says, "The crowd is chanting, zip your fly, zip your fly." Apparently I was on the Jumbotrons when I had climbed on the stage and was spreading my legs and worked my zipper down, and my zipper was wide open.
Wow.
So that was kind of pretty funny to have a crowd of 10,000 people chanting something like that at me. So kind of embarrassing, but funny, really.
You survived.
I survived, yeah.
Without thinking about hurting anyone's feelings, what were some of your favorite bands that you worked with?
Yeah. My favorite band that we toured with was probably Audio Adrenaline, back when they were still a band. I mean, there's still an iteration, I think, of Audio Adrenaline touring. They've carried on the name, but like back when that original band with the original members were in it. That was so fun. We were young at the time, and they were so fun and so nice. And they invited us in to hang a lot, and I'm still, as you know, really good friends with Mark, their lead singer. But I remember one time playing airsoft battles with them around the buses during the day, and they were just so easy going. I remember coming around the corner and like I shot at Will, their bass player. He was wearing goggles and a beanie, and somehow the little so what was sort of looking for the not bullet pellet, yeah, little pellet went straight between his eyes and hit him, and blood started coming down his face. And I was like, dude, I am so sorry. And he came up to me, he's like, bro, that was awesome. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like, they were just crazy, and they were so fun on stage. One night, Mark, had me up at some point and had me sing some of a song. And I don't know, like, I think that was a moment of our lives where we were just having a blast out there, And so I would say probably they're one of my favorites that I've toured with, for sure.
Sweet. That's awesome. You just signed with Gotee Records.
Yeah.
Toby Mac's label.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. This is a new chapter for you in the music world. And can you tell us how that came about?
Yeah. So in 1999, someone came and grabbed me in Toledo at a concert. And it was at a DC Talk concert. and they said, "Hey, Toby wants to meet you." And I remember going backstage for a minute and talking with Toby. And that was the first time I'd ever met him. And at that time, he had started Gotee Records and was still signing some bands to it. He had a few artists. Had been going for a few years, and he had heard about Sanctus Real. And we actually ended up talking with his label for a little while about potentially signing on. We ended up going with Sparrow Records. But I've known Toby since '99, and we've over the years have toured together. We did our first national tour with Toby when he went out as a solo artist on Festival Candios. It was Sanctus Real, Toby, Mercy Me, Jeremy Camp, all of our first like big national tours together.
Yeah.
And so it's been really cool because he's always been a big encourager to me. We haven't been really close over the years, but we've like remained, we've remained friends, and it's always so good to see him. And he's always just been a voice of like massive encouragement. And so when Gotee approached me a few months ago about a songwriting deal, and then they mentioned that they would also love to do an artist deal, it was really kind of just, I don't know. It felt like a little bit of a full circle moment. I mean, 25 years later from when I first met Toby, because he was looking to sign artists to Gotee, to come back to his, with his guys that are running that label, Joey and Ty and Brad, and have the opportunity to do something new with them. It felt really right, man. It was like me and Sarah both were like, we love these guys. We've known all these guys forever.
And they're in Nashville, right?
They're in Nashville. Yeah. Yep. And it was super easy to just do business with them. I was like, hey, I think this, this is what's fair for them. This is what's fair for me. It was like a win-win. We just like it from beginning to end. It just felt like easy. And I think a lot of times that's the way, like when God's really in something or breathing us up at the right time in the right direction. I do feel like a lot of life is like the waiting and the patience. God, what are you doing? But when he brings something at the right time in the right moment, and you just know it's right. That's one of those things, man. Like it's so refreshing.
You know what else it is, Matt? Yep. You're a likable guy.
Well, I appreciate that.
I mean, you're so even keel. You're chill. You're not threatening, and it's just easy to be around.
Thanks,
there's a lot of artists, musicians, actors, athletes, and people that have achieved some fame in their lives that are just hard to deal with.
Yeah,
they got ego. They're just loud. Yeah. You're not that, and you're just a likable guy.
Thanks,
and
man.
I think it was just easy for them to just see your demeanor, and it's like, yeah, we got to have this guy on our.
Man, thanks. Is that the dog saying he likes me too?
The dog was like, woo, 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 woo. All right. But yeah, it's your demeanor.
Appreciate that.
You got a quietness about you, like myself, and I think guys like us are just easy to be around and talk to. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm really excited to be able to start making some music again, and really, I feel like I had a friend tell me on a missions trip to El Salvador. He said, Matt, I feel like God wants me to tell you that you got another swing. Don't think that music's over for you. And man, it was so crazy because when he said that, I was like, man, I appreciate that. Like I'll take that to heart. Trust God has something. But it's funny because I had no idea. Like just a couple months later, Gotee would call. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. The passion hadn't, that flame has not died out. And I'm sure while you were just kind of tinkering around with, writing songs and just, keeping things in motion, you probably intuitively knew some kind of opportunity was going to come up.
Yeah, for sure.
So being patient with that and just persevering and being hopeful that, you will return back to your first love in a sense, you
Yeah.
know. Let's kind of go where things got a little bit hard for you, for your family. What was the most difficult thing about being on the road and you know, doing your music, Sanctus Real?
Yeah. You know, I still try to work that out sometimes, just because people ask a lot about, you know, me leaving the band in 2016. And I was pretty public about the fact that I felt like I needed to leave the road and be with my family. And, you know, I just think that I think some people, I don't know if they're just built for differently, or if they just power through, or they are honest, or they just deal with the issues that come with touring and just sweep them under the rug. I don't know, or their lives get ruined. I'm not really sure what it is, but like, I think it's hard for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some artists achieve a level of success that allows them to, affords them the opportunity probably to make it easier on their families, because they can do less, make more, you know, when they go out. But we were always in a place where we had a lot of success. People knew who we were. We could go out and play the big tours and everybody knew our songs. But we still were always trying to reinvest into the business to keep it growing, to the point where there was just a certain number of shows we had to do per year to kind of meet the goals that we had or felt we needed to achieve to continue to grow potentially into what we were hoping for. And so, you know, I don't downplay any of the success we had. We did so many amazing things. I'm so grateful for it. But I think there came a point where I think I saw very clearly that I couldn't see us being able to break away from the system that we had created that needed to keep going for us to keep it running without stepping away. And that was really, really hard for them, hard for me. And, you know, we spent a year actually, David Smallbone, who is, he's Rebecca St. James' dad, and his kids are for King and Country, you know, and he's part of all that. He's one of the main characters in Unsung Hero that just came out.
Yeah.
David spent some time with me when I decided to leave Sanctus Real to help mentor me through how to end well. Because, you know, he was there when Rebecca burnt out, obviously, at the end of her initial career, where she needed a break and she kind of stopped for a while. And he kind of wanted to help me through that because he, you know, had seen the challenges of burning out and knowing you're done, and how you can, he basically encouraged me, take a year of your life and devote it to ending well. Do the shows you need to go do, say thank you, come up with your plan, ease the guys out so they can, you know, move on easier. And so we did that. And, you know, now that I'm home, I can see, honestly, man, my relationship with my family, how much more reward there's been for me because of the time that I've spent there. It's true. What you invest in, that's where you get your returns.
Right.
And so I knew that I had to invest more in my family if I wanted to get the returns for me and for them that we wanted. If the family was going to be the most important thing. And I think it also really, I think I was in a unique situation in that every night when I was on the road, I was singing a song about being a present husband and father. So I was the guy sharing that message about how I want to be more present at home. You know, if I was singing about whatever, like, I might have been able to justify it a little more, or at least within my own mind, even if I felt like I should have left. But I'm like, I'm up here on this stage. That's my message. It's what I'm known for. Am I doing that? Am I around as much as I should be? No, I had to be honest. And it was a culmination of that realization mixed with, I felt really the Holy Spirit pressing that on me. and adding conviction to that, yeah, no, you're not where I want you to be. I want you to be home, and having to trust that and walk ahead with that. And it was a really hard decision to lay down a dream of that I've been doing for 20 years that was still had the possibility to continue to grow. And we'd done so much. But man, just my oldest Emmy, who, like she doesn't even really remember it that much what it was like when I was gone all the time anymore.
Yeah.
And my other kids the same. They don't remember dad really. They don't really think about it that much because I'm home now. And I still travel, but it's based off of what's healthy for Sarah and I. We make those decisions together.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a management company or a booking company saying you're going to be gone for these 40 days and home 3 weekends. Or it's me and Sarah going, hey, do we want to do this? Makes sense for us and for our family. And it might be like, yeah, it's a little more than usual, but that makes sense during this time. It's good for us.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can say, no, that doesn't work.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Since you brought up the kids, one of your sons, Bowen, had a heart defect.
Yep.
You and your wife Sarah did a documentary called Bowen's Heart. My family, we watched it, awesome. And it was amazingly done, and it's pretty raw, real. We know other families that have gone through similar struggles with what you guys have gone through with this situation. Can you tell us more about this documentary?
Yeah. So when we went through the first 2 surgeries after Bowen was born, that was right at the time when the song Lead Me had been number 1 at Christian radio for like 3 months. And at the same time, we were experiencing like the height of our career, basically, that we'd hoped for.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the lowest point of my life as a father, not knowing if our son was going to live. And so through all that, I mean, God was so good to us. He gave us the gift of keeping Bowen. I do believe that God is good, whether he gives or takes. But right now we have the give, and he can take at any moment. And so I don't take that for granted. But during that time, we faced a lot of just trials as parents that now we see so many other parents going through. And we, a lot of it we didn't do right. Even like the marriage piece, like we didn't know how to comfort each other in our grief, or it was hard. It was so hard, on everybody. So when we came upon Bowen's 3rd surgery when he was 8 years old, we had talked to so many families because of the platform that we had, who asked us, hey, how do we walk through this? Reach out for help, for advice. Over the years, we just talked to so many. And so as we approached it, Sarah knew some documentarians. They were a couple. They worked for NBC. They did the NBC Online and short docs for Today's Show. And we knew that they were wanting to move into having their own business doing documentary filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah thought, what if we talked to them? They had lost a child to heart disease. And Sarah's like, what if we ask them if they want to partner with us on this and do this? And then we can show people how we walked through it.
Yeah.
And show them they're not alone. Maybe we can help them in some of the areas as they see how we do it. And maybe in the areas we don't do right, they'll see like, oh, good, they don't do it right either. We're going to survive.
Right.
And so, we spent those months leading up to his surgery, shooting the documentary, up through a couple weeks after his recovery. And yeah, it was a beautiful experience. And Zach and Lexi Reed, Rhyme and Reason Films, did a fantastic job on it. Like unreal.
They did.
We put it out through a distributor in LA, and it's available wherever people watch or buy or rent films, Apple, Amazon, all the places.
Mm-hmm.
Not on the exclusives like Netflix or Hulu, but pretty much like all the other platforms. It's out there. And so, yeah, we're excited about it. It's still like it's funny because Sarah will still say like, I wish we could get it to more people. How do we market it better? How do we promote it better? I mean, I think everybody asks those questions. I was like, everybody, I'm like, if you have $1 million to put into marketing, we could probably get some more people to see it. But like, we don't have $1 million to put into marketing, and we didn't partner with somebody at that capacity. And so, but we love the fact that it's there and that people are still watching it and people are still finding it. And the people who need it, I think God leads them to it.
Yeah. And I want to encourage our listeners to seek out Bowen's heart. It's not going to be hard to find, but you will definitely be blessed by it. And, encourage some other families that have gone through or are currently going through the same situation with their kids. Bowen is 15 now?
13. Yeah.
He's 13.
Yeah,
wow.
13. It's all good. Yeah,
I forgot Louis is younger than True.
Louis is younger.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy, man. Like he's had the three surgeries and has endured an awful lot. But he's doing great. We've got him to the point where he's on no medication anymore.
Nice.
At all. And so
praise God.
Yeah, he's went to camp for the first time and that was huge. So
Bowen is so cool, man.
He's a cool kid.
He's just chill. He's got great manners. He's a good dude.
He is.
I'm blessed to be in community with you and your lovely family. We do life together. Life is hard enough as it is. Imagining doing life without community is like, it doesn't make sense. What is living in community, doing life with other believers? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, for me, our small group at church that we have, and then some of the other, groups of friends that I've cultivated over the years here in town. God uses each group of friends to grow us in different areas of our lives. And I think one of the really cool things about our small group was that none of us really knew each other going into it. I have all kinds of friends who I've known for years, and it's easy to show up with people like you're comfortable with because you know them. But it takes work to stay in a community of people you don't know well, to keep showing up. Like at the very beginning, you're getting to know each other. And a lot of people just like bail on those groups after a while because like they let life kind of like, oh, well, we just can't go, no time. But like, I love that as we all stayed committed to it, that we've grown as a group of friends and that we've been able to be there through the more, I think one of the biggest things is just like somebody's in need. It's like, hey, could y'all help with this? Or could we help with that? Or could you grab my kids? Or could you, it's like all the little things that families and villages do for each other. You begin to find that beyond the friendship, those things become natural extensions of the community. And so I've loved that about our group. I feel like the more we've gotten to know each other too, like we started having a lot more fun too. It's like we're just having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think also I look at some of the communities that God's placed me in, and I think of the accountability of knowing that you have a place somewhere and knowing that you have, it gives you something to answer to even beyond God.
Yeah.
You always answer to God. But it's like when we isolate ourselves, we almost don't have to answer for how we walk day to day. But when you're in a group of people who are aspiring to live for Christ and they aspire to a certain standard of love and behavior and leadership, and you're around these people who are trying to live intentional, excellent lives for Christ. It holds you to account. And you're like, you have to ask yourself when you're around people like that, oh man, I need to grow. How am I living that way?
Right.
And it spurs you on.
Yeah.
And
I just watching people.
Yeah.
They don't have to say anything in particular. You just watch how they're doing it. And as part of my story is I surrounded myself with people that are just doing life better than I was.
Yeah.
And the hope was that a little bit of that will rub off of me. And I'll be better for it. And it takes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Not everybody that listens to the show is a Christian.
Yeah.
I understand that. But I want people to know that we don't have it all together.
Yep.
We got, our lives can be complete hot messes just like yours.
Yep.
But we have something that is lacking in the world, and that's a strong community of like-minded people that spur one another on, like you said, and we are better for it because it's not about us and doing life, behind closed doors by ourselves. We share our successes, we share our failures with each other. We want to continue to learn and grow together.
Yep.
And that's an example for our kids and future generations that
That's right, man.
this is what life is supposed to be about. God created us to be in community with one another, and that's what the happy times, and that's when the messes that we make of ourselves, and we just keep going from there. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep, that's right, man.
As we wrap up, I like to ask my guests, and you brought it up earlier. I ask everybody who comes on, what does Matt Hammitt need to be more intentional about?
Yeah. So this past year, I've gotten way more intentional about my health on the physical side, and also trying to just like hone in spiritually too. On the physical side, for a lot of years, man, I just didn't eat good. I actually ended last year 40 pounds overweight, and I decided that I was like, man, I'm going to cut out carbs and sugar to mostly, I still let myself enjoy a little bit, but took off 40 pounds, last year. And that was a big deal for me. I feel better. And now I'm kind of trying to move into, and I'm always trying to be disciplined spiritually, but man, I'm really trying hard to lean into the realization of gratitude for what God has given me and not wasting the day.
Mm-hmm.
When I wake up in the morning, I'm trying to just, I have a tendency to feel overwhelmed sometimes by what's going wrong. I think everybody probably does, but like, I'll be honest, I'm an artist, man. I'm an emotional person.
Right.
I cannot, if I allow myself, I can be swayed by my emotions to determine the outcome of my day. And I'm trying to lean into that simple prayers of gratitude to when I feel that the emotion of a day that I may not be able to control doesn't have to determine the outcome, that I can choose differently, that I can say, you know what? No, this is a good day that God has given me. And I only have so many days on earth that I want to waste it, and get focused and chase what it is I need to chase that day. And sometimes what I need to chase is actually rest. Sometimes my brain is so worried about everything I got to get done and being overwhelmed that I just won't let myself stop. And there are days I feel God saying like, no, you need to rest and take the time to do that, because that's what you need right now. So I don't know, maybe it is simple prayers of gratitude and choosing gratitude regardless of my circumstance. I think that's what I'm trying to be intentional about.
Oh, what I've seen from you, at least what I think I see is that you use a lot of that, your songwriting abilities as an outlet to get those thoughts on paper and make new songs. So those emotions that you're carrying through, trying to understand, you put them in a song, and that's your way of expressing what you've been experiencing. So it's beautiful to see, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm excited to put some new stuff out with Gotee.
I thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to sit down and chat with you. I hope our listeners enjoy it. You're a good dude. I love you, brother, and thankful for your friendship and for your family. You guys are an awesome bunch. Thank you guys again for checking in with us. Please like, subscribe, and follow us. We greatly appreciate you being with us, and look forward to more conversations with some special guests. And that is all from me. God bless.